As certain as I am that Star Wars Episode 9 is going to be awful, that Star Wars, the franchise, is dead, I still have a certain amount of excitement for Episode 9. And I was asking myself why. The answer is that as someone who loves Star Wars, will always love Star Wars, there's a part of me that hopes to see an actual Episode 9, as opposed to this Disney, J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson abomination. The best analogy I can think of is, let's say your mother died, and a year later someone said, "Oh, by the way, your mother's coming to dinner tonight." You would immediately be excited and hopeful that she's going to be there, even though you know she's dead. Or let's say that somebody told you something fantastic that you know is impossible, like they got a dragon at their house, or there's a unicorn, or they just saw an alien. Even though you don't believe it, you want to believe it. And basically that's what Star Wars Episode 9 has riding on it, is the fantasy fiction idea that it might somehow miraculously... It's got to pull out a real living dragon. It has to have something impossible. One of the reasons that this movie is impossible in terms of succeeding is that it has based itself on three main characters before. Finn, Rose, Poe, and Kylo Ren, who are terrible, who have no story and no future. And no matter what J.J. Abrams does, he has to feature these three non-entities. Not to mention the subordinate, the secondary non-entity characters, such as Rose. I mean, Rose and Phasma, they kind of have to be in it, or else it looks a little too guilty of a crime that they're admitting. It looks like they're admitting that they screwed up big time with them. So they've got to put Rose and Phasma in, even though there's nothing to do with them, and they're eyesores, and nobody wants to see them, and they've got no story at all. Speaking of terrible characters, there's that bug-eyed creature that says to Rey in Episode 7 that the story of Luke's lightsaber is a story for another time. Well, see, now J.J. Abrams has to make good on that story, because now it's time. It's time now to tell 9 hours of exposition in the final movie of all places. And in the final movie, it's the fact that it's the final one is going to underline, is going to emphasize how disposable and undeveloped these new characters are. And in regards to what Episode 8 has to say about the whole thing, that the past should die, the problem is that there's nothing new in these movies that is of any quality. So you can't kill the past if you got nothing, if you got Rey and Poe. Don't let the past die if you can't do the future. They can't do the future. Regarding J.J. Abrams, I think he's proven himself to be a guy who who creates mystery boxes but has no clue how to solve them. He's consistently done this. He can't do endings. He's almost like Stephen King. His endings are terrible. We got Lost. I never watched it, but apparently it was a terrible ending. We got the Star Trek trilogy, where that really went nowhere. You know, it starts out strong and then withers away. With the Cloverfield movies, which went nowhere. So I don't think he can deliver. My predictions on how Episode 9 will do. I think that it'll do okay. It'll make money because they're going to plaster Darth Vader in all of the commercials. They're going to pull out all the stops because they can't afford for this thing to fail. However, the aftermath of the thing, basically they got caught stealing, and they just wanna, it's like they farted and everybody heard, but you're hoping nobody will say anything and that you can just kind of gracefully exit. That's what episode 9 is going to try to do, is gracefully leave the room after the fart that the whole thing is. But they're certainly not going to reinvigorate anything. It'll be a lot of fun to hear it more and more about how there's less and less happening with Rian Johnson's imaginary trilogy, which was never, ever a reality. There was no contract signed, ever. I honestly think it was just a way to build hype for episode 8, because they knew that was going to stink. So they wanted to look overconfident. Rian Johnson is probably the last person on Earth who should get a Star Wars trilogy. In terms of the future of Star Wars, the extended universe, Knights of the Old Republic is their only option. They've got to go to a galaxy far, far away from the Skywalkers, because the Skywalker saga's over. Finally, I think that the more wide-ranging effect that these Star Wars movies have had, the aftermath, will be that nobody's going to trust critics anymore. Everybody's going to know that every Disney movie, and maybe every other big budget movie, will be getting great reviews as soon as it comes out, and nobody's going to pay attention anymore. In that sense, The Last Jedi killed big movies. We now know that critics and the movie makers are all liars. J.J. Abrams is lying even now when he says things like The Last Jedi didn't change the way episode 9 is going to go. The backlash did not change anything. That's just a flat out lie. I don't think I have anything more to add for a long time about this, because first of all, my opinions haven't changed, and I've said them already in previous videos, which are pretty much the best. I've made the best comments on the Star Wars The Last Jedi, or among the best of anything I've seen or heard. And it's amazing to me that nothing's changed, that I was right from day one, and that they were wrong from day one, and that they haven't changed since day one. And it's all going according to plan. If you support gays, click like. If you respect blacks, comment. If you think women are people too, click the notification bell. And if you care about sick children, subscribe.